Alright, let's look at some angle notation. So here's an example of a shape, ABCD. What would you call the red angle? Now I think you would mostly agree that we may just call that red angle A. Might be a decent name for it. Now that's not too much of a problem with this diagram. However, in a diagram like this, how would you define A? How would you say to someone that you're talking about that specific angle, the blue bit, without saying, well, if you said A, well, you may be referring to this, you may be referring to this, you may be referring to the whole thing. So for that reason, when these shapes become a bit more complicated, we need to have a clear way of clarifying which angle we are looking at and have a clear system of naming. And the naming system for angles is really straightforward. You may already have come up with another way to name this. I'm going to give you a clue. Look at the two arms. That might help you. If you extend the arms out a bit and use the other letters to help you, how can we call this angle? So the red angle in this case, you can see the two arms are AD, and so we call that AD, and this is AB. So the thing they have in common is A, which is the vertex where they meet. If you were to drag your finger along this from D to A to B, you would have traveled from D to A to B. You may have also decided to go the other way. You may have gone from B to A to D. So that would have been B to A to D. What we've done here is we've used 3 letters to figure out the red angle here. So what you want to do when you're naming angles is, this is called the 3-letter notation. And if we're looking at angle A, which is given in red, you're going to trace your finger along the two arms and then just spell out the letters in order. Now, both of these are the same angle. DAB and BAD are the same angle. So for example here, if we're referring to angle A, let's use the same logic. We're going to trace your fingers along, or your finger along both arms, starting at one point. So here we're going to start at D. Remember, where you turn is actually at the vertex. So you don't start at A and go to D. That wouldn't make sense. Don't start at A and go to C. That wouldn't make sense. You either start at D or C. I'm going to start at D and I'm going to go from D to A, and then from A to C. So I can now say that this angle here, the blue angle, is called DAC. If I had gone the other way, from starting from C, I'd go from C to A to D. So the angle would have been CAD. Both of these are correct. Both of these are 2 different ways of labeling the blue angle here. Okay, so we'd call it DAC or CAD. Notice the letter in the middle is the vertex, and then the D and the C are technically interchangeable. You can swap the order of those around. So we'll look at a more formal notation on this page. So this is what you should be copying out. So angle notation. If we are looking at this black angle here, then we may, so this is the angle between AB and BC. We may, for example, just literally write angle ABC or CBA. They would both be correct. We may write it like this. Now that symbol there is literally just a drawing of a little angle that looks like that. So it's not an L. You could do it like this and do it slightly more like that. But either way, it just means angle. It's shorthand for the word angle. So angle ABC, or another way to write it is angle CBA. So make sure it doesn't look too much like an L, but you can see what that is. And then we can see ABC with where your B has a hat. So that little thing there shows that it's a hat. Now the most common way that we label angles is like this. And generally at times, we may not actually use the angle symbol as well. So just be aware. Generally, this doesn't cause much confusion. It's not something you would worry about too much. Now, you may think to yourself, angle ABC, well, if it's referring to this black angle here, what about the other angle on the outside? So there is a reflex angle ABC, but you may, for example, call it reflex ABC or ABC reflex. That again is not going to be a problem that's going to cause any type of confusion with any questions. It will always be very clear. You will not be caught out by that practically ever. So it's not something you should worry about. Generally, the angles are labeled quite nicely in all questions. So these are the 3 ways you can label angles, and we're going to be looking at how using this notation in the next video. See you in that one. Smash the like button, hit subscribe.